Good morning, Alan, and good morning, everyone else. I'm Terry. Welcome to Tardis Spider. Today, the William Hartnell Era, the creation myth of Doctor Who. I hope you enjoy this video. Please like and subscribe. The myth that is classic Doctor Who has 7 parts, one for each of the Doctors. They will all bring a part of the personality that is the Doctor as we know him today. The first Doctor's era, 1963 to 1966. This is the creation myth for Doctor Who. This is the William Hartnell Era. The world's longest-running science fiction series has a troubled beginning. In its early development, a script by C.E. Weber, The Giants, was to be the first story, only to be postponed because it was too technically demanding, as Doctor Who was a production that was going to be recorded as a live performance at Lime Grove Studio. Key elements of Weber's opening were incorporated into the story. 100,000 BC. The first episode, An Unearthly Child, remains some of the very best of Doctor Who to this day. There were further problems when the original version was found to be lacking by Sidney Newman. Technical shortcomings were obvious, the Doctor too abrasive, and Susan too strange. A reshoot was ordered. After months of preparation, the new version was unveiled. For all of its faults, 100,000 BC did fulfill a part of Newman's brief, being a semi-educational trip into the past. The next story was initially a problem for Newman, as he dismissed the Daleks, the story's alien antagonist, as bug-eyed monsters. Verity would defend this story and the Daleks, with history proving Verity Lambert's instincts correct. 1964 is the first full year of transmission for Doctor Who, and we will see the fulfillment of the idea to have stories forward, backwards, and sideways in time. In February, The Mutants, the story that would introduce the Daleks, was watched by more than 10 million viewers every week. Budget and the 13-week initial recording block would lead to The Edge of Destruction, a 2-part story inside the Tardis. This claustrophobic tale is when we will first question, is the Tardis sentient? The story ends with the doors opening out to reveal the beginning of the adventure Marco Polo. In the first 3 stories, we will see the Doctor grow into a more benevolent, paternal role within the regular TARDIS crew. The lost 7-part story, Marco Polo and the Aztecs, both written by John Lucarotti, are well regarded as some of the better pure historicals. Other than the Dalek stories, the science fiction adventures of 1964 often pale in comparison to them. The 6-part quest that is the Keys of Marinus is an example of the program overreaching. The Sensorites follows, with the alien telepaths being more than just monsters. The Reign of Terror takes the Doctor and his companions to Paris during the Revolution. William Hartnell would be delighted, later stating this was his favorite story. This story will end the first broadcast season, with the Doctor telling Ian, "Our destiny is in the stars, so let's go and search for it." Yet recording would continue with Planet of the Giants, a better late than never realization of C.E. Weber's idea. The first block of recording would end with a return of the Daleks in the Dalek invasion of Earth. This story would see extensive location shooting and finish recording in October, with the final episode airing on Boxing Day with over 12 million viewers watching. The first full story of 1965 is the 2-part story, The Rescue, introducing Vicky for the departed Susan, beginning a fantastic TARDIS crew, a favorite of mine. Next, The Romans, a 4-part historical, played as a farce, written by new story editor Dennis Spooner. The Web Planet is probably the most overambitious scenario in the program's history, with the conflict between Zarbi and Monatra proving to be unpopular with both fans and critics. Normalcy returned with the historical drama The Crusade, Sideways is probably the best way to describe the first episode of the Space Museum, with a series of sideways trips through time that will see the travelers confront themselves as exhibits in a space museum. In the chase, the Daleks will hunt the Tardis and her crew through time with their own time machine. Ultimately, their defeat will enable the Doctor to return Barbara and Ian home, completing the original story, marking the growth of the Doctor into our hero, from a grumpy, cantankerous, distant alien. Barbara and Ian are replaced by Stephen Taylor, an astronaut rescued from Mechanus after the battle between the Mechanoids and the Daleks. His first full story is The Time Meddler, a mix of historical and science fiction. Peter Butterworth would play the monk, a member of the Doctor's still unnamed people. This is also the last story with Verity Lambert as the producer. A new producer, John Wiles, and a new story editor, Donald Tosh, were on board for Galaxy 4, a morality tale with the beautiful Dravins and the hideous ammonia-breathing Rills, with their robots, named Chumblies by Vicky. The second recording block would end with Mission to the Unknown, a single-episode adventure without any of the regular cast. The third recording block would begin with the recording of The Mythmakers. In this trip to ancient Troy, Vicky would stay and Katerina would join. Wiles and Tosh would then undertake the 12-part lost epic, The Dalek Masterplan, of which 3 episodes still do exist. The Dalek Masterplan is broadcast from mid-November till the end of January. Both Katerina and Sarah Kingdom will meet sad endings in this serial, leaving only Stephen and the Doctor going into the 4-part historical, The Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve. Another lost story with even fewer recorded images remaining. Dodo Chaplet will join the TARDIS crew at the end of this story. Following in an H.G. Wells-inspired The Ark and the sinister surrealism of the Celestial Toymaker, Dodo and Stephen are cast as traveling entertainers in the Gunfighters, by many considered a low point of the Hartnell Era. This is also the last story with individual episode titles. Now, Stephen was written off in a noble fashion after uniting the survivors of a dystopian power struggle at the end of The Savages. Dodo, however, will be written off with not even a goodbye in the next story. The newly built post office tower was a totemic presence in The War Machines. This story has a more contemporary format, returning to present-day Earth, that's 1966, with the curmudgeon Doctor and his 2 new 60s swinging London companions, Ben and Polly. Behind the scenes, more changes are coming. There had been plans to replace Hartnell during the Celestial Toymaker. Fighting back, Hartnell would remain a while longer. He would stay for the swashbuckler, the Smugglers. He would return in the 4th recording block for the 10th planet. This story will introduce the disturbing Cybermen, yet even this would be overshadowed by the climactic final scene when the Doctor's body is renewed. From late 1963 until late 1966, Doctor Who was William Hartnell, the first Doctor. These years are the very infancy of the series, from birth to the first regeneration, the introduction of the Doctor's greatest foe, the Daleks, the coming and going of companions, moving from a teleplay style bound to a studio to what would become the style of recording for dramas in the BBC, the creation of the myth of the Doctor itself. Now, maybe this would be a bad place for a modern viewer to begin with Doctor Who, but if you are going to become a fan of the entire series, this is an era you will not want to miss, and maybe you will be in awe, as I am, on just how good this is with so little to work with.
Today, we're downtown with the bookmobile, and I'd like you to always remember, a child cannot have a favorite book if they do not have one. Give a child a book today.